Lately I discover many books written by Grandmaster Palatnik, and honestly I really enjoy them. I like them. Okay, the books are a little old, I'm buying them used, so the price is like, this one was $5, so it's not that it cost a lot, but clearly Sam Palatnik is a product probably of the Soviet school, is a great teacher. I really like to watch his games that I didn't know at all, and whatever he puts in his books, because I think it's highly instructive. There are also some interesting anecdotes inside the book, so for me makes it all worth it, because it comes to life, you know. This is the experience of a grandmaster that had a career of many years, and so it's nice to see what he has to say. We begin with chapter 1, The Knight, where he says, we begin our research by considering games in which basic strategy attention is given to devaluing the stocks of a competitive company, Knights and Sun. So the chapter is about Knight. Why it's very important to start with a piece? Because, and maybe you can see it here, it's the Tarrasch Formula. Tarrasch, in his book 300 Games, gave a lot of different advice, but one of his advice was, one badly placed piece makes your whole position bad. And so now we will see how that happens, okay? The first game is Marshall against Ragozin, and it was played in 1940. Palatnik gives the name, the title of this game as Infantry against Cavalry. Marshall begins with e4, c5. Wow. And now there is a move that I would never thought Marshall would play, but honestly I don't know very much about Marshall. I have a few books about him and I didn't have the time to read them. Because what happens is that if I find that a book has a very good price, I buy it. Because I don't want to pay later $20 more for the same book, right? Because it's out of print or something. But obviously my life it's a little busy. So c takes b4, and Marshall continue correctly with a3. I think this is the Sicilian wins gambit. Knight c6, a takes b4, knight f6, b5. Obviously, while one can be happy to give some pawns for a material advantage, sometimes it's also important to push them, because you give a problem to where that piece is gonna be, right? So that's the interesting part here. Black continue with knight d4. And of course, Marshall continue to ask the question, which is, where are you going to put that knight? So how do you think he asked this question, right? He asked this question with c3. Now, you could say, but you see, he's not developing the pieces while black has two pieces. Yeah, he's not developing the pieces, but he's gaining a lot of space advantage. He's taking control of the center. Okay? So, after this knight e6, guess what? The next problem is given by this pawn, because this pawn is attacked, right? But you don't want to defend, you want to gain space, take control of the center. And so this is what Marshall did with e5. And black played knight d5. As you can see, there is no rest for these two knights. So, can we really call it a development advantage? No, I don't think so. Why? c4. Boom. So imagine how many squares is white starting to control in enemy territory, while black is not really controlling anything, because he has these two knights that are badly placed, and the funny thing is this: black is not an amateur. Black is Ragozin, that has also a line of a Sicilian in his name. He is obviously what we consider a professional right today, because that's what he did all his life. Okay, knight d f4, and guess what is white playing now? Try to guess, guys. Try to pause the video and put yourself in the shoes of Mr. Marshall, because that is what will happen to you when you will go to play a tournament game. You will have to do your own moves, right? So white played g3, as you can see, again asking where are you going with that knight, okay? And he played knight g6. Now, to you might not mean anything, but this is in a tomb, is not coming out. All his way, his pawns to come out, they are not going to make him come out. So this is the real problem. I mean, while white has moved a lot of pawns, but he has opened the lines for his pieces, like you see. Here there is a file. Here he can go here and here. This can go here or here, and this can go here or here and here. I mean, it's great, the situation for white, right? Yeah. Well, white continue with f4, and here Palatnik writes an original situation. White's first 10 moves have all been made with pawns, that's the infantry, periodically attacking the enemy knights, the cavalry, and driving them across the board. Now, finally, one of them will perish. One of them because, oops, ding, ding. So, what did black do? That's kind of interesting, huh? Where does it go? Well, here he played knight g takes f4, and Palatnik in his book obviously tell you what happens if black played knight c7, which I'm not going to tell you, because after all he probably need to sell books. After all, that's what a chess player does, right? They write books and hoping that they will make them rich. Unfortunately, it's kind of difficult to become rich selling chess book. The only one I heard of, it was Jeremy Silman, it seems. Interesting, right? Okay, so knight g takes f4, g takes f4, and knight takes f4. Okay, honestly, I don't mind. This position starts to be interesting also for black, because this side is completely open, so to do this could become a mess for white. Let's see what he plays. d4, attacking the knight, knight g6, h4. I mean, Marshall is really a great player. It's a great player. Because imagine, this h4 is to avoid that he can play this. So, boom. And then there is another threat now. h5, where do you put your knight? Right? So, it's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess. e6. Sorry, it's the first time I see this game. I find it very interesting. h5. I don't know. Here Palatnik writes, it's a record white's first 40 moves only with pawns. Yeah, I mean, that's why I find this game fascinating. Come on, can you believe it? There is not one pawn here. I never saw such a position. It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh my god, I don't know how it's going to end up, but it's interesting. Bishop b4, bishop d2, bishop takes d2, oh, and knight takes d2. Knight e7, that's interesting too, yeah. and the white can play knight e4. Wow. Here you can see that there is a problem, right? Knight d6 will block everything and will keep control of black territory. So obviously black needs to prevent that immediately, and he plays knight f5. But again, Marshall is something. He plays h6, very interesting move. And of course black plays g6, and then of course he has knight f6, because once you move a pawn you create a weakness, right? And imagine that white has nothing in front there. King f8, knight f3, d6, trying to mine the pawn chain, knight g5, d takes e5, d takes e5. And of course now Ragozin probably thinks, haha, I'm safe because I can exchange the queen, right? He plays queen takes d1. Queen takes d1. Very interesting here. Of course, rook takes d1. King e7, trying to connect the rooks and bring them into the game. Rook h3. Here it writes, Palatnik writes, the entry of this rook into the game signals the end of a struggle. Okay. b6, bishop g2, rook b8, and of course now you have the final move of the game, which is knight g takes h7. And it seems here Ragozin gave up. Okay. Okay, just to be sure about one thing, some people obviously don't understand why black might resign if there is no checkmate, right? But here the problem is that black is practically all tied up. It's what we would call a zugzwang situation. Plus this is a very advanced pass pawn that can become a queen, and for sure there are also some possibility to give checkmate to this king that is exposed. Here, for example, let's say that black plays this, you're not obliged to take back, you can play this, which is a check, right? And after, if he plays this, obviously you say, but why he doesn't play this? Because the rook would probably go here, and guess what? If the rook goes here, this is game over, right? Because he cannot go here. So that's why I tell you guys, when you see, for example, the final position of a game and you don't understand why, you just put the position in the computer if you don't have a sparring partner. But if you have a sparring partner with which you study, then of course you can play that position against him. You make a list of the position you have to play, once a week you play them against your sparring partner, so it becomes clear. Here again, if you play this, I will give you check here, because again you make the mistake, is checkmate. Now, if you go here, you still don't escape this thing, it's a mess, it's a mess. Because you say, oh, if you do this, probably now I go here. And again, the game to me looks like over, but I don't know. You guys think about it. I mean, if he goes here, he can take with the rook, he can do so much stuff. If he instead goes here, he can also play this. It's a mess, okay? I don't know. I don't think that, or he can take here and then go back. I don't think that black is able to survive more than 4 or 5 moves, okay? Thank you for watching. I took this game from the Tarrasch Formula written by Grandmaster Palatnik, and remember, the Tarrasch Formula says if one badly placed piece makes your whole position bad. So that's the Tarrasch Formula. And here practically the badly positioned pieces were the knights that were continuously going around, and white that was continuously gaining space, and in the end he won. So that was an amazing game, honestly a beautiful game. Thank you for watching.